Hey, what's up everyone? This is Silver Slayer. Thank you for tuning into this video. I have a really interesting article that I want to share with you guys and gals talking about silver's price potentially hitting $130 an ounce. Now, some people would say that's bogus. Some people will say that's impossible. That's not a realistic number, but I beg to differ. Not saying it's going to happen overnight. This would definitely be within the next 3, 4, 5 years, but it's definitely possible. In the last 9 years ago, silver was $50, and things were much less. Things were not as extreme as they are today. Times are definitely more volatile. Times are more extreme, over-exaggerated, which also means prices could be more exaggerated too, not only from the recession/depression, not only from stock market volatility, but also this virus thrown on top of things could make situations a lot more interesting today than back then when silver was $50. So anyways, this article from investingnews.com will be in the description. So let's jump into it. So, silver has made significant gains in the past, but has not risen past the $20 per ounce level since 2016. That was actually in July 2016. That was when we saw the $21 silver. So nonetheless, well-known figure Keith Newmore, CEO of First Majestic Silver, believes the white metal could reach into triple digits, an idea he reiterated in an interview at the top of 2020. Newmore has voiced this opinion many times, giving the $130 number in a November 2017 interview with the Palisade Radio and again in March 2018 with Kitco. In the past, he's been even more bold, suggesting the white metal could reach $1,000. In order to better understand where Newmore's opinion comes from, it's important to take a look at the factors that affect the metal's movements, where prices have been in the past, and where other industry insiders believe silver could be headed. First, let's dive a little deeper into Newmore's prediction that the white metal can break the seemingly distant $130 level. So silver in the future. Why $130? There's a significant length for the silver price to go before it reaches the success Newmore has boldly predicted. In fact, in order for the precious metal to jump to $130, its price would have to increase by close to 8 times its current value. Newmore sees $130 silver in the cards in part because he believes the current market compares to the year 2000 when investors were sailing high on the dot-com bubble and the mining sector was down. The First Majestic Silver CEO thinks it's only a matter of time before the markets correct, like it did in 2001 and 2002, and mining sees a big rebound in pricing. It was during this time that Newmore himself invested heavily in mining stocks and came out on top. I've been calling for triple-digit silver for years now, and I'm more enthused now, said Newmore at an event in January this year. But I'm cautiously enthused because, I thought it would have happened sooner than it currently is happening. And that's the thing. It's not going to be overnight. If you're reading these, or if you're watching these videos that say that silver is going to be $500 by the end of the year, that's all bogus. That's all bullcrap. We probably won't even see $20 silver by the end of the year. We're looking for the next 3 to 6 months, maybe $20 silver. The next 3 to 6 years, that's when things could pick up. There's a lot of things at play with the 2020 presidential election, the protests, so many different things, especially with the diminishing supply and the rising demand with 5G technology. And silver has a bright future, but for the short term, it's definitely not going to be making extravagant rises out of nowhere. It's not going to skyrocket tomorrow. Which also means you have time to accumulate more silver, but also don't be misinformed. I don't want people to have unrealistic expectations on prices just because they watched the video from a silver pumper. So the silver CEO's enthusiasm is based on the fact that governments in the Western world continue to print money and take on massive debt loads. I think the central banks around the world have put themselves into a corner. I think interest rates are either going to stay stable or go lower, and the governments are just going to keep printing money and deficit spending. This scenario is very supportive for gold, and of course that will drag silver along, he said. Newmore emphasized that he trusts in silver supply and demand fundamentals to move the markets. The headline stuff that we read every day, whether it's Trump or China, those will move markets for sure. but it doesn't move supply and demand. And that's a good point. He pointed out that today's booming solar panel and electric car markets are two huge drivers for silver consumption, like I mentioned previously. So the supply and demand fundamentals for the metal today are even more dramatic than in years past. And that's what I was talking about earlier with 5G technology, with electric vehicles, with solar panels, photovoltaic cells, and green energy, which we're turning into. It's definitely going to push demand higher. More people need silver than ever. Instead of just wanting it, they need it. So it's definitely going to be interesting. And what you need to know is that we are headed into a new technological era where everything is advanced digitally and technologically, with smartphones to electric vehicles to solar panels, and silver being the most highly conductive metal for thermal conductivity and electricity is only going to be pushing that button higher, that bubble higher. So more controversially, Newmore believes the white metal will become uncoupled from gold and should be seen as a strategic metal due to its necessity in many everyday appliances, from computers to electronics to solar panels. And that's another thing I want to stop at. Everyone compares gold to silver, or silver to gold. Silver is gold's little brother. If gold moves, silver is going to move. But when are these markets going to separate? When are silver prices going to rise regardless of what gold's doing? When is silver going to? Because they're definitely very separate categories, right? Gold is used more for commodity uses, more for coinage, more for bars, jewelry, necklaces, earrings. Silver, on the other hand, is used more for appliances. So why are the markets so closely knit together when they have such different purposes in the world? I don't think that silver should be pegged or correlated to gold's price so heavily, and I think that when the markets do start to separate, that's when silver can pick up. So he also stated that silver production has gone down in recent years, meaning that, contrary to popular belief, the metal is actually a rare commodity. And that's true. It comes out of the ground roughly 8-to-1 compared to gold, but when you look at how much silver is being lost in technology, it's actually much smaller. A lot of gold is recycled, rescrapped, reused. Silver, on the other hand, is lost because it's not as profitable. People aren't scrapping laptops for silver; they're scrapping it for gold, right? Because silver, you'll get a couple dollars. Gold, you can get several dollars. So, according to Newmar, we're consuming, as a human race, over 1 billion ounces of silver annually. And miners are only producing about 800 million ounces a year, and that's been dropping for 3 consecutive years. He also pointed to declining grades, making the case for a deficit. Silver in the future. What factors affect its movements? In order to glean a better understanding of the precious metal's chance of trading around the $130 range, it's important to examine the factors that can push it to that level or pull it further away. The strength of the U.S. dollar, U.S. Federal Reserve interest rates, change, and quantitative easing by central banks are all factors that will continue to affect the precious metals, as well as geopolitical issues and elements of supply and demand. Although Newmar believes that the tie that binds silver and gold needs to be broken, the reality is most of the same factors that shape the price of gold also move silver. For that reason, it's helpful to look at the gold price drivers when trying to understand silver's price action in the last year. And that's true whenever you want to look at where silver's headed, look at gold, because gold usually moves first. Silver is, of course, the more volatile of the two precious metals, but nevertheless, it's often traded in relative tandem with gold. For gold, and by extension silver, a key price driver lately hasn't been so much supply and demand, but uncertainty. The past 12 months have been filled with major geopolitical events, such as tensions between the U.S. and other countries such as North Korea, China, and Iran. Those tensions and other developments, such as the huge economic impact of the virus pandemic, have been major sources of concern for investors in the precious metals market. Precious metals investors have also been closely following the Fed's interest rate plans. Rate cuts are generally positive for physical silver and gold bullion prices, because when rates are lower, it is more profitable to invest in the precious metals rather than in products that we can accrue interest. The Fed recently dropped interest rates to 0, a move that has positively affected both metals. Further rate cuts remain front and center in many investors' minds, and for good reason. The Fed continues to have a dovish tone for the remainder of the year. Market participants should also pay attention to what central banks are doing or going forward, as it could have a large impact on the white metal. With the U.S. currency being less strong in previous years, both gold and silver have begun steady inclines, with the white metal gaining and maintaining a trading price over $17. Silver's close ties to gold's safe haven status will be beneficial in the long term, and there is also a strong case to make silver's industrial growth potential. Maybe countries will be looking at how do they kickstart their economies, and maybe that growth in infrastructure spending. In the long term, Metal Focus sees that silver price hitting a high of $19 before the end of 2020. But bear in mind, of course, the market is still very small. It doesn't take much money coming in to have those more pronounced moves in silver. And that's true. Silver is a very, very small market. The latest World Silver Survey published by the Silver Institute and Metals Focus indicates that in 2019, the silver market experienced an overall global silver supply increase despite a 1% decrease in the mine production. In 2020, mine production is expected to fall 5% from 797 million ounces, while the overall global silver supply is projected to drop by 4% to 978 million ounces. That would be the lowest level in global silver supply since 2009. On the demand side, the electric vehicle and photovoltaic markets contributed greatly to increased silver consumption in 2019. Photovoltaic demand registered an impressive 7% increase in offtake, rising to its second highest annual level as the report. So diminishing supply, rising demand, it's only going to shoot the price up. So silver in the future, historical prices. While the CEO of First Majestic Silver is one of just a few saying that silver is poised to reach a triple-digit price, there is support for numerous belief that the metal is undervalued and that the ideal conditions are present for silver prices to rise. These conditions include low interest rates, overvalued markets, and a monetary system overcome with indebtedness. And many are on board with Newmar and the idea that mining has entered a new bull market. So, if the silver price does rise, how high will it go? Let's look at silver's recent history. The highest price for silver was just under $50 in the 1970s, and it came close to that level again in 2011 when it hit $35.12. More than double the 2009 average of $14.67. The commodity price uptick, and actually it was more than $35, it was like $47. The commodity price uptick came back very strong silver investment demand. However, the price of silver has trended much lower lately. In 2020, $18.60 was the highest level silver had reached as of June 16th. So, I definitely like this article. I like how they showed the future, silver's future moving forwards, because that's what you got to remember. If you're looking into an investment, you can't really focus too much on the history. Yes, you can look at some signs and some patterns, but moving forwards is really where it's at. The projections are coming from what's going to be happening, not what has already happened, but what's going to be happening. Where is silver headed? That should give you an idea on where prices are, and it's looking more and more bullish. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you enjoyed this article from investingnews.com, please make sure to smash the like button. Let's see if this video can get 200 likes. Like this video if you love precious metals. I'll be posting more videos hopefully today, and I hope you enjoyed this. Thanks for tuning in. Make sure to subscribe, smash that bell so you get instantly notified when I drop a new video. This was Silver Slayer. Thanks for tuning in. I'll see you guys soon. Peace.